it's the Nigerians' turn to take the mantle and to really set it off. Because if Nigeria doesn't become a superpower, there's not going to be an African country or African people that will ever be able to take their place in this world.
That's right.
Nigeria mixed with where the Nigerians and the Americans connect, that's forming Voltron.
That's right.
No country can stand against us if African Americans and Nigerians connect, but that requires African Americans to understand who they are. Yeah. That's why in America, the European power base do everything they can to keep us fighting. They will, every trick in the book, they will keep us fighting.
Yep.
So we got a bunch of, I call them American village people. Okay. American village people, despite the technology that I know, not African people, they think that we have all this technology and we all caught up to date because we have access to technology. But listen, the average African American in the hood down the street is about as knowledgeable as the average village person way out in the rural areas of Nigeria. I swear to God. I swear to God. So what happens is they get these phones, right? And you may hear a low information, unknowledgeable Nigerian say something disparaging about African American, right? And a low information African American like, are you calling me a tata? Okay, I'm gonna call you African booty scratcher, right? Mm-hmm. And now we got two idiots on both sides fighting, exacerbating the divide between us.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I just want Nigerians to understand this. 90% of African Americans are proud Africans, and we seek out and want to connect with Africa.
Please say it again. Please say that again.
At least 90% of us, we are 100% unapologetically African. We rock our dashikis. Our women wear the big African ear, like we are unapologetically black. What you're seeing on the internet is incel, unknowledgeable African Americans who they talk shit about Africans, but they talk shit about Americans. They ain't got no friends in real life.
Yep.
But the thing is, these ignoramuses, right? These ignoramuses that's being exasperated by scammers, by people who like to use the drama to make money off YouTube, right? Like Tariq Nasheed's using xenophobia as a method for him to make money, right? Because he knows that low information voters or low information people who consume information will fall for anything, right? And he'll make money off it.
Yeah.
Most African Americans are proud and we just want to reconnect. We just don't know how to, right? But we want to. And a lot of us, we just can't afford to come because we're still struggling.
Sure.
This system in America that's a repetitive bill cycle. We don't have, a lot of people don't have the capability of going to Africa, but they could if it was cheaper, if they had the ability to. But trust and believe, African Americans, we know we African. If you go out on the street right now and ask any random African American what FBA is, they don't know what that is. If you go out there and ask them what ADOS is, they've never heard of it. If you ask them who Tariq Nasheed is, they're like, who is that? Like, they don't know any of these terms. This is all on the internet. I promise.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Now, you know, and I believe that. Now, the problem now comes is that these 10%ers that you're talking about who are mercury in the waters, these incels are the loudest voices in the room, right? They are giving the wrong perception of our African-American brothers and sisters. Because think about it for a second. Most people who aren't here, like I'm a U.S. citizen. I live in the United States. So I have the opportunity of really relating to my African brothers and sisters and seeing for firsthand that information, not something that is shown to me in the media, not something that's given to me on some kind of, taunted or distorted truth. I can live and see it. Not everyone has the opportunity. So you're talking about people who the only gateway they have to the United States is through the internet or TV. So if people in Africa who have never been to the United States, have never traveled here, if people in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, if all they're seeing on the internet are the rhetoric from these 10%, right, against Africa, there's this tendency for people to think that African Americans really hate Africans. Do you get what I'm saying? So it becomes that same type of poison that the white power structure did to taint our relationship, because they use the media, they use TV, they use, that type of stream to convince us of each other. And I think that it is important that guys like you and I, who have a platform, use our platform to correct the narrative. Because I will tell you, man, there was a time I gave up on African Americans, man. I have to tell you, there was a time because the rhetoric was too much. And I just said, hold on a second. I've been in this country now 28 years. 28 years I've been in this country. I've been called the African booty crab. I've been called those names, right? I've seen the worst of, I won't use African, I'll use these as Black Americans, but, you know, I've seen the worst. However, I've also seen the best, right? Like some of my greatest friends are African Americans, right? I've seen the best. And then you get on the internet and you see these types of rhetoric from, you know, like the Tariq Nasheeds and many others who I won't really care to name their names and all of that.
Right.
And you see more followings of people who are anti-African, and you wonder, like, hold on a second, where is this coming from? Why is this all of a sudden rearing its head in ways that we have never seen before? Because this is dangerous. And the more important, why aren't enough people who don't think that way speak out against that stuff? Like, why am I not seeing more and more people like yourself who are from the community saying, hey, no, you know, Nigerians are not this, Africans are not this. Why aren't they speaking out? Why are they letting these 10%ers voice and speak for them? That's the part I don't get, right? Because then that creates the perception that all African Americans are like this. That creates the perception that all African Americans think that way, and we know that that's not true. We know that that's not true. But perception is reality, right? Like if I'm perceiving this is how people are thinking about me, I'm gonna think that that's the reality of what people think, right?
Right.
And that's why I'm using my platform to bridge the gap. And I'm glad about guys like you and people like you exist, Pan-Africans like you, who aren't trying to exploit the situation, right? But they're bridging the gap, because I think that, let me tell you something, brother, and we're going to go into this next thing. African Americans and we in this country, and I'm going to talk about United States, and I'm talking about all of us, Black people in this country, whether you are from, you're African American, whether you're African, whatever, we are in trouble in this country. We are in trouble politically, socially. We are in trouble. You see what's going on with the migrant situation. Okay. You see what's happening. They are now using that as a way, because I think that the political parties, Democrat parties, Republican parties, they are tired of the Black vote. They are trying to replace the Black vote. I think that's what's going on now. So now we're seeing a lot of migrants coming from Venezuela, from Mexico in full flocks to replace our vote, because I don't think they want to deal with us anymore. That is a political problem that we're facing in this country. That means we don't have representation. That means black people aren't going to be the go-to for minority topics in conversation anymore. That means we aren't going to be getting a lot of the social programs that are left for Black people aren't going to just be exclusively for Black people anymore. I don't think they've always been, but Black people aren't going to benefit that much. So there's a lot of that. Now, economically, that takes away also the economic power, because if you're not represented and people don't see you as someone they need to mess with, it limits your ability for jobs. It limits your ability for a lot of economic prospects out there. So we are in trouble. Now, I say all that to say, wouldn't it make more sense that African Americans or Black American, whatever you want to call yourself, line up with your African brothers and have that pool of number? Because I hear this nonsense going on with Black and Brown. I think that whole Black and Brown coalition is a dumb idea. And I think that Hispanics they don't go along with that. I think the only people I hear talk about Black and Brown are African Americans aligning themselves with the Hispanic community because they want to gain that number. But the Hispanic community they're here but for themselves. They're here to fight. They're not trying. You see what's going on in that migrant? They are looking out for their own people. They are currently 17% of the population. According to statistics, we're 13% of the population. I saw your video where I saw your recent video on that, where you don't think we're only 13% of the population. You think there's more. I think I saw your video recently, right? Right. But according to data statistics, all right, we are 13%. African American people are 13% of the population. So let's use that for a second. They want to move that number, 17% for Hispanic. They want to move that to 23%. It has been projected that Hispanics are going to make the second largest demographic in the United States. So this whole Black and Black coalition, they're not with that coalition. They're not with it. And I think that it makes sense for African Americans to align with Africans who are coming here and they are making strides. I mean, when you look at Nigerians are excelling. The 77% of Black doctors are Nigerians, right? Nigerians are in engineering. Nigerians are in science. Nigerians are breaking boundaries with music. Nigerians are breaking boundaries with a lot of these skill sets that are reserved for elite type of class. we can work together, we join forces together, and we can dominate here. But why aren't we seeing that? Why aren't we seeing that?
Listen. They're not seeing that is because Europeans thought about that years ago. All right. Like I said, if the Nigerian and the American, if the African American and the Nigerian wake up one day and realize they're the same person, it's over. See, Europeans have an existential population crisis, right? So their whole thing is their population is going down. They can't hide it anymore. They are the minority in the world by far. They know African people in general and Nigerian people specifically, by 2050, 1 in 5 persons on the planet is going to be African. So that means we're going to have the numbers, right? And because of Europeans and the way they wanted to run their governments and the way they want to run their corporations and as how lazy they have been as far as economically wise, they decided they didn't want to clean. They didn't want to pick their own fruit, right? And then so they turn their back and they allow people to pick their fruit. Then they said they didn't want to wash their floors. So then black folks start washing their floors. And then they said they didn't want to clean their own teeth. So then black folks start being dentists. Then they said they didn't want to be doctors. So all of a sudden, you go to the hospital, the white people look around, all the doctors are Nigerian, Cambodian, or African American. So now they don't want to be engineers. They'd rather go do something else. So now they turn around, all Africans and Nigerians and Cambodians, African Americans, they're being engineers, right? And so they're turning around all the things that make government, that make things function and make us excel in life are being ran and operated by Nigerians. We're talking Africans. We're talking about middle management, upper management, specialty fields. So they're losing the ability to control the mechanisms of corporations and government and how they function and produce goods. And on top of that, politically, if you ain't got the numbers, you can't win. You can't hold sway, right? So they don't want a bunch of Nigerians. They don't want African Americans and Nigerians to connect because this will happen. If African Americans, and I actually wrote a long comment about this because somebody said something about this. If Nigeria ever, if they get when they get their government together, right, and make a conducive environment so that African diaspora can come and invest in the country, we will start forming Fortune 500 companies that have so much money that they will be able to, in turn, sponsor local politicians in black neighborhoods to take over any black neighborhood in America. Because we'll have just like the Jewish people do, just like the Asian people do. They have whole countries that they can reach and they can pull from institutionally. African Americans, the one thing with all our trillions of dollars that we have, we don't have nowhere to park that money. We still got to park it in European institutions. But if we had a whole country like Nigeria, right, and their institutions, we partner up, there's no group of people on the planet that can compete with African Americans in Nigeria. There's no group of people that compete with us economically, right? Period. It will be impossible. We got the numbers, we got the know-how, we got the safety in the African continent. We got all the resources, and we take the political power. It's over. We can literally take the keys of America, and the Europeans know that. The more Nigerians come into America, because listen, and over here, where I'm at, Nigerians and African Americans married is normal. It's the Nigerians and African Americans. I go outside right now. Within 5 minutes, I find a Nigerian. I can go to any store that's a Nigerian. Nigerians and African Americans work well together. It's like a well-oiled machine here. You can't tell the difference. It's impossible. And the thing is, they can't tell the difference. That's another thing. They're afraid of that. They can't tell who's a Nigerian and who's an African American. You can't tell. And because they can't distinguish us, they got to psychologically keep us separated, right? But African Americans and Nigerians have the potential to take over America while also building Africa and once we do that, it's game over. So Europe, it's imperative for the survival of Europeans
to divide us.
Separate. So listen, there's a class of mixed people. Now, hear what I'm about to say here. There's a class of mixed people. Now, the first class of mixed people, we call them Arabs. We know Arabs ain't nothing but African people mixed with Europeans and Asians. When I was in Qatar, I realized that these people were black. I said, how come I ain't never see these people on the internet? On TV, they white, but when you're there, they're black. The Arab world is black off TV, right? But when we have so you got the mixed people, and you notice Arabs are used to as a wedge to keep Africans down and to keep us away from fully, tackling the European problem. In America, we have a plethora of mixed people in the country who they're already shunned by the European side, but they also feel, and I know you've seen it, they still shunned by the African American side because we talk shit, right? So we'll make fun of their white side. We'll, you know, like if you're African, you'll hear somebody call you an African booty scratcher or something like that, talking shit. And you're like, you know, same thing with that light-skinned guy, right? I'm light-skinned, they think I'm mixed, but I'm not. Both my parents black, right? So I've experienced what those mixed people experience. And some mixed people, like Yvette Carnell, right, from ADOS, those people who, ADOS, they don't feel like they can fully connect with Africans because they still believe what the white people said, that they don't like them. So you got a bunch of light-skinned, mixed African-American who otherwise would call themselves African-American, but you know what they call themselves now? Black American.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because that's why I am so glad you said that's why I make the distinctions that there are African-Americans and there are Black Americans. And I think that the white power structures, white folks, are using those so-called Black Americans who have separated themselves as a Black American to attack or perpetuate the same propaganda against Africa. I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing the Tariq Nasheeds, the Yvette Carnell, these ones who are trying to align with white folks, trying to align with Massa, who think that somehow if they do X, Y, Z for Massa, they'll have a seat at the table, right? They've been doing this for a long time and they've still not gotten a seat at the table. I think that the white folks are using these people to create more propaganda against Africa. So they don't need to do the job that they used to do anymore. They just need to go ahead and put it in the ears of these types of people who are detaching themselves from Africa and call themselves Black Americans nowadays. They use them to say, hey, these Africans are taking your job. Like, for example, I saw a Fox News and Fox News with the whole migrant thing. And you see this every year during the election time. Fox News had a segment and they were covering the whole border situation. Now, we all know the face of migrants coming illegally in this country. We know what those faces look like. We know what that looks like, right? We know who they are. They're mostly guys from, we know who those are, right? Now, we do have also Haitians and some Africans in that group, but they're not a huge, large number. You know, it's basically a very small number compared to the overwhelming. We know who the face of illegal immigration in this country is. Fox News, in order to appeal or to stir up anger with these group of Black Americans, those that identify as Black American, had a segment a couple of days ago. And it was said, it was covering, this is how they put it on their thing. It says, a lot of Black migrants are crossing illegally. They didn't cover the face of migrants that we know about. They just focused on African migrants coming in here. And so you'll find the Yvette Carnell and those guys use that and say, see, they're coming up here and they're trying to replace you. They're trying to replace you. They're trying to take away what we have fought for, what our ancestors have fought for, all of that rhetoric. So they leave out. I don't see Yvette Carnell, I don't see Tariq Nasheed going after the Latinos as much as he goes after the Africans, right? So they use that rhetoric to stir up that hate. And so allow these guys to do their own propaganda for them. It's a fascinating thing that when you watch it, because when I see a Black American or those that identify as Black American, I see wanting to please the white master so bad. I see that. I see wanting to appease white power so much because they're in love. It's that Stockholm syndrome. I see that a lot, right? I want his love. I want his attention. I want his approval. I want him to say, well done, my faithful servant. I want to hear those words from him, that I'm willing to hate whatever he hates. I'm willing to, love whatever he loves. I'm willing to attack whoever he wants me to attack. I'm willing to go on this propaganda rampage, even at my own detriment. Even at my own detriment, I'm willing to do this. That is a fascinating thing. So I think that those are the ones that are making it hard for African Americans like yourself and many who want to connect and will connect with their roots, or who are fighting the cause for Black America or fighting the cause for our community. They are making that extremely very difficult for that to happen because it's a house divided. And a house divided cannot stand. So, for example, the reparations conversation. Let's talk about that. The reparations conversation. You have the governor of California. What's his name again? Was it Newsom? Gavin Newsom? Yeah. You heard him last year, went on this whole, the moment he said it, I knew this was just, I knew it was a hokey doke. Oh, put together a task force, right? To look into the reparations conversation, right? I knew it was BS because they do this every year. It was during the election time. And so he won. And this is when he was going to get the recall. You remember there was a recall election to reelect. So he put that whole thing together because he needed black people's vote. And then you find this rhetoric from those who profess to be black Americans going on this rampage against Africans for this whole reparations thing. And it didn't pass. What that did cause more divide in our community. They didn't pass it. You see the Tariq Nasheed go over there and talk, and they use these people all the time. And the reason why I'm for reparations for African Americans. I'm not for reparations for black Americans. And let me tell you what the difference is for me. The difference is for me is if you are saying that you do not connect with Africa, you're not from there, which is a rhetoric you hear from a lot of these. We don't come from Africa. We're not from Africa. Our roots and our bones are we're buried in this country, right? We're not from Africa. We don't have any lineage, the FBA nonsense talk, right? Then why are you asking for money from money owed to descendants of African slaves? Because if you're not from Africa, then why are you trying to get the money for, right? So that to me is that type of infiltration and that type of very deceptive type of strategy where you have one group who's really murking the waters and killing the opportunity for a group who is owed that money. So you have African Americans who are descendants of African slaves who are saying that, okay, who are rightfully entitled to that money. I support reparations for that, for African Americans and the descendants. I totally support that. But now, how do we know who they are? Because we have this other group who are saying we're not from Africa. We don't have anything to do with Africa, but we want the money. We want that money. We are entitled to that money. How does that work? Because if you're not from Africa and your people are not from Africa, how are you trying to get the money that is entitled to African descendants of African slaves? I don't get that part.
Yeah, they want their cake and they want to eat it too. That's what it is. It's like you want to be a pretending, you want to be everything but African, but you want reparations that's supposed to be given to Africans that were disenfranchised and put into the transatlantic slave trade. And this is, see, and I know a lot of these people, they're not thinking tactfully, and I understand these people are not smart. Because if they truly wanted reparations, here's the thing. African Americans are owed reparations, but a thief, you can't expect a thief to give back what he stole, right? Unless you can force that thief. That means you got to be bigger than that thief. You got to be able to threaten that thief with some sort of consequences if they don't do what it is that that they want. And the thing is, a lot of these ignorant people who talk trash about Africa and say, what has Africa has ever done for us? How come they didn't come over and rescue us? It's like, idiot. When we were being enslaved, they was enslaved too. They was just still on the continent. We're all going through this at the same time, right? And they say stupid stuff like, they didn't, I'm like, they're here now. Like you talking about you want backup, where they're here now, backing us up. They live in our communities. They're our doctors. They employ us, right? We employ them. We marry them, right? What are you talking about? They're here doing exactly what you complaining about. Now you complaining about that.
Yeah.
Only way. This is the only way that African Americans or Africans who live in America are ever going to get reparations. If Nigeria becomes a world superpower, that is the only way.
I believe that.
Why? Because if you don't have a government strong enough to sanction other governments for not treating their citizens or their diaspora, then ain't nothing ever going to happen. We need Africa. We need Nigeria. We need South Africa. We need Ethiopia. We need Ghana. We need the African Union to be strong enough to be like, look, America, if you don't do right and give back what's owed to our people, because there is a charter in the president that you will pay reparations. It's not like it's something that ain't never happened. Jews got theirs, Japanese got theirs, everybody got theirs. If you don't do this, we're going to sanction you. And the only way we're going to be able to sanction them is if we take control of our international economic situation. Meaning we have to get away from using the dollar as the currency. the U.S. dollar being the world currency is the way America is able to crush countries utilizing sanctions and devaluating their money. There's absolutely no way why Nigeria currency should be so low. But it's because America can bring down the Nigerian economy, because America dollar controls everybody's money. That's why other nations are taking this opportunity to try to create other economies and use other types of money in order to get around that. So and the thing is, Africa can back all their money up with actual resources. Unlike America, it's all fake. They just print it out. So once Nigeria becomes a superpower, once they step up and Ghana becomes a superpower, South Africa becomes a superpower, y'all gonna look at America and be like, look, pay up or else. And the thing is, America's gonna have to do it. But when America does pay reparations, it's over for America. Because the amount of money that's owed to us is literally, you're gonna mortgage the entire country. So it's almost like I just borrowed $1 million from you, but I spent 95. I spent 90 million of it already, and you looking to get your 100 million plus 20% interest, but I don't already spent it. I ain't got it. America ain't got it. We talking about trillions upon trillions of dollars. Without the 400 years of free, 100% free labor, no overhead, America and the UK would not be would be a third world country. If it wasn't for Africa, France would be a third world country, and France is about to be a third world country all over again.
Amen. Amen to that, brother.
Yeah. Amen. So we can't expect white people to ever. They're never going to give us reparations on purpose, because they would basically be saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for subjugating you here. Let me give you all the power." That's what they would have to be doing. So we can't expect it, but we're going to make them do it.
Yep. You know what? I look forward to that day, and I think that's going to happen, because if you've been paying attention, it sounds like you've been doing that, brother. Is that the West is really losing their grip on the global world stage? They are losing their power, and they understand this. Africa is rising. Africa is becoming a formidable continent. And if you look around, there's countries in Africa right now who are shaping their economy. Look at Rwanda. What Rwanda was able to do right after the genocide that happened in the 1990s. Rwanda built its economy up, and they're right up there. Look at Nigeria, what Nigeria is doing right now, even with all of the systemic plaguing from European countries, from the West, to plague Nigeria and keep it down. Look at how Nigeria and Nigerians all over the place are doing their thing. Look at how Ghana is also evolving. Look at how a lot of Kenyans are evolving. So there's this mindset that has become a norm now with Africans, that Africans are rising. And I think that is due to the birth of social media. I think social media is connecting Africans all over the world, where a Nigerian in United States can look at and see what a Kenyan is doing in Kenya and try to connect with that. And I think a Ghanaian can see what Nigerians are doing and connect with that. And you see, I mean, look at Afrobeat for a second. Afrobeat became very globalized because of social media. So I think that social media is the best thing that happened for Africa, because now we can tell our own story, we can shape our own narrative, we can impact the world, we can change a whole lot of things through the power of that media. And I think that really makes white structure in the West very nervous. I want to go back to one thing you said. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, speaking of that, because I want to make a point about the media, right? Now, I know you heard the phrase, the pen is mightier than the sword. You've heard that before, right? Now, the pen represents direct action, like weapons and killing and guns. But the sword represents media, propaganda, right? Because I can take a sword and I can stab one person. But if I can write a letter that inspires people to raise an army to destroy nations, right? And so the power that the Europeans used to have is they controlled access to media, right? So they were able to lie to us, right? Even in Nigeria, just not even 10 years ago, your politicians, your uncles, and your godfathers can do whatever they want behind closed doors. Now the average Nigerian wouldn't know what was going on, right? But now your uncle and godfather can't do what they want to do because everybody's like, no, I saw it. So now that makes and then like you say, you can now talk to me. Like, this is unprecedented. That what we're doing right now.
Right.
And for history's sake, I want you to keep in mind, who are the architects of this technology, right? Who are the founders of this technology that allowed us to do what we're doing today? It was an African. It was a Nigerian. It was an African-American by way of Nigeria. From the cell phone to the internet to satellites to math for satellite communication. It was us. So we are still the architects of our liberation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's great. Thank you for saying that, brother. This is why I use my platform. This is why this platform exists. Because if you look at my platform is basically an edutainment platform that tells the Nigerian story, but not just only Nigerian story. I tell the African story because I think that, to your point, that the social media platform now allows us to tell our own story. So that narrative has been taken away from the few oligarchs that own the media. You know, the Foxes, the Fox News of the world, the CNN of the world, the MSNBCs of the world, and all of those giant conglomerate media. They no longer own the narrative. We can tell our own narrative. What you and I are doing right now, imagine the impact that someone watching this is going to get from this. Imagine the impact that someone's going to get from it. Here's something I want to add to what you said, because is this and it has to do with a point you made early on in terms of slavery. There's a belief that a lot of Black Americans, and I'm going to use Black Americans because, to me, I don't know if I've told you this, but I will say them on this, and my viewers know this. I don't consider Black Americans to be my peoples. I consider African Americans as my peoples. Okay, and I think that we both have made a good, strong distinction of what those two represent. Okay, because anyone who is anti-African is not my people. Anyone who is trying to align with white people against where your lineage and your ancestry comes from, you're clearly not my people. We share the same skin color, you're not my people. So, you know, your ideology doesn't align with mine. My ideology aligns with African Americans who understand their lineage and their ancestral roots. Now, to those watching me who are African Americans, and they have been given the story of slavery, because the story of slavery shows, and I want to talk about that for a second, so I think it's important for us to educate people. The story of slavery, from what we've seen, which is a narrative that white people put together. Okay, you know, most people know about slavery from movies. Okay, most people know about, you know, the roots of the world and the 12 years of slavery, that type of thing. You know, white people put these movies together. And the narrative has always been that Africa sold what our brothers and sisters here, right? Africans. But what they don't tell people is that not Africa, Arabs sold African Americans or Africans to this country. Now, the reason why that is important is because most people don't understand that Arabs are not Africans. They don't know this. Years ago, back in the before the 1800s, before the 1700s, this is way long time ago. This is even back during the Crusade, the first, second, and third Crusade, back in the Dark Ages. Arabs came and infiltrated what would be known and called today African region. They came in and infiltrated. They brought Islam. This is when Christianity was also making its way. We're talking way back in the days, right? Arabs were trying to spread Islam to the world, just like Catholics were trying to spread Christianity to the world. And they made their way and conquered the regions that's known today as African continent. That's how Arabs were able to then sell Africans, because Arabs don't consider Africans as their own people. So Arabs sold the Igbos and the Yorubas from the Nigerian area to white folks who they were working with in trading in commodity. That's how that occurred. So it's important that people understand this, because Igbos didn't sell Igbos to white people. You know, Yorubas didn't sell Yorubas to white people. You know, these were Arabs were selling people that they didn't consider to be their own people to foreigners. Now, there was slavery going on in Africa too, right? So you'll find that kind of exchange, because slavery was a practice that happened all over the world. You know, think about it for a second. Slavery occurred all over. It was a practice that was, you know, when you go to Rome, Romans were selling Romans. These are Europeans. They sold their own people for gains and for sports. You know, the gladiators and all. These were Romans selling Romans to each other. Native Americans sold Native Americans, right? Scandinavian countries, you know, Denmark, you know, the white folks, they sold each other. So this was a practice that was a known thing all over the world. And so when the Arabs had conquered Africa once upon a time, way before the Portuguese came, way before the British came, you know, they wanted to sell and make money. And to them, they're like, okay, you're not my people. Let me just sell you to these white people and then take you over there to the West Hemisphere. That's how that occurred. I say all that to say that, but when you hear and you see the movies put together, the narrative is that Africans sold African Americans to this country, and that creates a tension. And you find a lot of people who are anti-African for that narrative. And so that's why I have this platform to say, no, Africans did not sell you to this country. Arabs sold Africans. They are not our peoples. Okay, so over the years, they've mixed into us, they've joined us, but they are not our people. I don't consider myself Arab. I don't consider Arabs to be my people, but you'll find a lot of them in Africa who have mixed, and they sold non-Africans or non-Arabs to this country. And so I'm upset at that whole situation as an African, as a regular African American. And I think it's important that we set the record and educate our people on this, so that way those who don't know the story behind that don't look at people who they're getting mad at the wrong person. You're getting mad at a Nigerian.
Yes.
You're getting mad at someone in West Africa because you think that his people sold you to this country, and that is not the case. Don't believe what the white man is telling you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point I wanted to make on that. You know, but anyway, so let me ask you your thoughts on politics, because let's talk about politics for a second. What do you think about what's going on in terms of the political landscape that's going on right now, in terms of Republican, Democrats? I don't know what your political, I don't know what was your political position?
I'm an independent progressive.
Independent progressive. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always been, and I want to ask you your thought on this in terms of the coming up election that's going on. I used to be a Republican my entire adult life. If you ask most Nigerians or Africans, and I think this is true from even black people, our culture aligns with Republican. I mean, we're conservative by nature, right? We're conservative. And when I mean conservative is, in terms of, Nigerians or Africans believe in that whole traditional lifestyle of things, a man and a woman marriage, family orientation, save your money and build businesses, that whole conservative ideology. So I've always been a Republican. I'm no longer a Republican. As of a month ago, I'm now an independent. And the reason why I'm an independent right now is largely because of what's going on with the Israel and Palestine war. I am so disappointed with Republican Party that I've loved and respected, politicians, also podcasters and people who have watched, support what Israel is doing against Palestine.
Right.
And for that reason, I can't align myself to that. I can't, because to me, that is hypocrisy. If we as a country are saying, if we have gone after dictatorial people or dictatorial regimes for what we consider as violation against humanity, violation against their own people. We went after Gaddafi, and we say Gaddafi was killing his own people, which was bullshit, which is BS. And we went after him and we took him out. And Libya now is in a wasteland. But we went out there under the guise of, he's abusing his own people. Right? So that's our stance. When after Saddam Hussein for the same thing, when these people were not doing none of that. Now, how is it possible that we see that same type of humanitarian abuse from Israel against Palestine, and we support that whole thing? To me, that is hypocrisy.
Yeah,
that is hypocrisy. So because of that, I can no longer align with the Republican Party's viewpoint. Right? I'm not a Democrat. I don't like democratic policies. I don't like the Democrats' policies, and I've always aligned with Republican policies. But I'm no longer a Republican, so I'm now an independent. Right? I'm not an independent. So I say all that to say, with the coming election going on, who do you think our next president? I know you don't have a crystal ball and you have no way of knowing this, but give me your best guess. Who do you think our next president is going to be based on the current political climate?
All right. Well, first we got to see. The Supreme Court said they're about to take up the case, right? Now, if the Supreme Court says that if the Supreme Court says that upholds Colorado's stance of leaving Donald Trump off of the ballot, Donald Trump is done. That's it, right?
You think that that's about the only thing that would make him done? Do you think that's about the only thing? I don't agree with that. I think he's not going to be the president of the United States, regardless of what Colorado does.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right, because
Donald Trump will never be the president. And let me talk about Donald Trump for a second, because let me talk about Donald Trump for a second. I voted for him the first time when he ran in 2016. Okay, because again, I've always been a Republican, and based on his views and what he was campaigning on, I said, okay, all right, I'm going to vote for this. I voted for him. I didn't vote for him the second time when he was running, because he started making statements that, you know, like Africa and Haiti are shithole countries, and I'm like, oh, word, really? So we're shithole countries. You're not going to get my vote. Why am I going to vote for you when you think Africans are shithole countries? Right? So he didn't get my vote on that part. So I didn't vote for him second time. I'm damn well sure I ain't going to vote for him this all the time, because to me, he's just gone so far into a deep end that I can't support someone like him. Right? He stands on immigrants. Right? Doesn't matter if they're legal or non-legal. He just has this disdain against immigrants. And his wife is an immigrant. You know, his current wife is an immigrant.
But she's the right type of immigrant.
She's a white immigrant. Yeah, she's the right one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's the right. Yeah, as long as she's not black, she's the right type of immigrant. And then his previous wife was an immigrant. His kids are from immigrant women, and so, but they are white European immigrants, so they're all right. But for African immigrants who come to this country legally, they come from shithole countries, and so I don't flow with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will never become president of the United States. And I know it's hard for people to think that, but there's no way he's going to be. Let me tell you who I think is going to be president of the United States. Let me tell you who I think. The next president of the United States, Michelle Obama.
Oh, look, man, listen. If she decides
I am telling you, Michelle Obama is going to be the next president of the United States.
Now, she says she don't want to run, but they always say that.
Bullshit.
They always say that.
Bullshit.
But if she runs, that's it. There's no need to do anything.
Let me tell you why Michelle Obama is right now. I think that they are prepping her right now to be the wild card. Right now, we're probably gonna see right after the primaries, because you know the primaries are coming up. We're gonna see right after the primaries Michelle Obama step into the race, because Democrats have always played chess. Republicans have always been playing checkers. Democrats have always played chess. They are way ahead of Republicans on this. They don't want Donald Trump to be president of this country. There's no way he's going to be. Biden is not. See, Biden is already a disappointment for Democrats. He's already done. He's done.
Especially with this Gaza situation, that's it.
He's done. Now, here's the conundrum with Michelle Obama, because I think Michelle Obama is going to be, because think about that whole thing. She gets to have the loved former president in the White House again, right?
That's almost like cheating. That's almost cheating.
We get to have him back in the White House. By the way, I didn't really like her president, the former Barack Obama. I didn't really like his policy, because again, I was a Republican, so I didn't really care for him. But I think Michelle will make a better president than Barack Obama ever did. Now, here is the conundrum. Here is the problem that I think they're going to be grappling with. Here's what I think is happening right now as they're prepping her. First, I don't think she wants to do it, but I think she's going to do it. I think the DNC is going to convince her, because they can't have Donald Trump win. But here's the problem. I think right now, big donors who are Democrats, who are leftists, I think they are grappling with the fact that how can we have the first female president of the United States be a black woman? I think that's what she's up against right now.
Right, because they don't have they want a white woman. They want to get one in, but Hillary was so toxic and evil that nobody could do it.
Exactly.
She was so bad, Donald Trump won.
Exactly.
She was that bad.
So I think that for a lot of those big donors who are donating to these campaigns, who don't want Donald Trump to be there, I think that they have an uphill battle to convince Democrat Party and those donors to elect the first female president of the United States, and it be a black woman.
You know what would be the move, though? What if Gavin Newsom decided to run as the VP? My God, because you already know that guy wants it. You know Gavin Newsom, what an evil dude, he wants it.
Yeah.
He's going for it.
Yeah.
So you take, oh my God, that'll be a setup. You put Michelle Obama right here.
Yep.
Gavin Newsom, because you have the white male thing that balances it out. That's a guaranteed win.
You think if they sold that to America, if they sold that, you think that would cause them to bring her up as the front runner of the Democratic Party?
It'll be over because they're going to campaign on women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah gonna be out there. She's gonna Oprah can pull all the urban palm colored women, right? All the black women gonna vote for Michelle. It's over. It will be if they convince that woman to do it,
it's done.
It's over.
It's done.
That's it.
I think she is gonna be the next president of the United States. I really believe that. I really believe it. And if she runs, go ahead. I want
you to pay attention to this. When Donald Trump was the president, because he believed that Africa was a shithole country, and because he put incompetent people in the government, that gave Africa a lot of 4 years to breathe. 4 years to breathe. Think about it. We never thought that Africa was going to rise so fast within our lifetime. When Trump became the president, all of a sudden, all these moves were being made. So, I mean, if he got back in there,
maybe you have a point there, brother. Maybe you have a point there. I just couldn't support a person that thinks like that about the continent I come from and the country I come from. He lost me on that part, right? And I think this whole thing with his the charges that are brought against him, I think that he's got an uphill battle with that. But I don't think that the country is going to re-elect or elect him to be. I think he's got his one term. And that's done. He is done. Donald Trump, as much as all these, right now I'm a never Trumper. I fall in that never Trumper category because to me, I can't put my vote behind someone who has a very toxic view. Forget what he said about women. I didn't care about that. I'm all about policies. So I don't care about what you say. I'm all about policies. But a guy who banned Nigerians. Right, he put Nigeria on the banning list, right?
Yeah.
He banned people from a country who are adding billions of dollars to your country, to the United States economy. The doctors you have, the engineers you have, Nigerians are the ones doing that. You ban people like it because you want to appease your white base about this African stance. So to me, that was a policy. So so when I see moves like that, I'm like, I can't get around you. I can't get around you.
Speaking on that, when Donald Trump was the president, I was in Nigeria. When he was the president, Nigerians was having the hardest time getting visas to get to America. Mm-hmm. They were getting denied left and right. I tried to get a couple people to come over. Yep. They couldn't get their visas approved. It was just horrible. It was a horrible situation.
It was, and what the message that sent, because he was putting all these people from Islamic country. Nigeria is not an Islamic country. Nigeria is not.
They try to push it in. They try
exactly. So you're sending the wrong messaging regarding Nigeria, and you're banning a country who has the most impact from outside of our from African continent in your own country. Nigerians don't come up here and commit crimes in this country. Nigerians don't come up here and are a burden to the United States economy. Nigerians don't come up here and do all of that. Nigerians are a value here, and you ban them. And then you're wanting their vote, those who are Nigerian Americans. No, I can't get behind that. So because of that, I just say, you know what, this guy is an idiot. I am not going to ever support him. That's why he didn't get my second vote, and he's not going to get my vote this time. Because I'm an independent now, as of a month ago, based on when this war, or is it a month or even 2 months ago when this war broke out, I am still going to lean depending on who I think is going to do right for my interest, right? Who I think, what are my interests? My interest is like, I don't want more taxes. I want less taxes, right? I don't want to pay more taxes because as a business owner, that is something that is of interest to me. So I don't want that situation. I want someone who is going to be tough on the border, but at the same time have be a humanitarian in terms of understanding where people are coming. You can't displace people in their country and steal their resources and then cry wolf when they're not coming to your country. When we see these Venezuelans coming here, as much as I don't approve of illegal immigration coming to this country, I understand why they're here. I understand because what did we do in Venezuela? We sanctioned Venezuela. We sanctioned their oil. We sanctioned them where they couldn't do business with not only us, but they couldn't do business with people of neighboring countries. So how are they supposed to survive?
Exactly.
How are they supposed to survive? So we took their ability to make money and survive, and we drained their economy So now when they're coming over here, we are now all up in arms about it. So that's the type of thing. So someone who has a sensible policy in terms of that is who's going to get my vote. But right now, the Republican, the ones right now are campaigning. What's the other one from the from South Carolina, the former governor of South Carolina? Where's the name again?
Haley.
Nikki Haley. No. Donald Trump. None of them are going to get it. So if Michelle gets in the race, boy, man, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be it all. She's going to win.
It's over. Listen, it's over if Michelle gets in the race. You might as well just call it. You can call it right now. Because what I don't like about Vivek and Nikki Haley is they are actively pretending that they're hiding their culture.
Yeah.
They're not. They're trying to appease Europeans instead of being unapologetically themselves.
That's true.
And I don't
That's
appreciate that. Like if Nikki Haley unapologetically came out in one of her traditional Native Indian professional way and use her real name, I would have so much respect for her. And she's a very smart. Nikki Haley is very smart, and remember, she was a Democrat. Like she's whatever you need her to be, right? But I have my problem with her is I also feel like she's being used by the military-industrial complex to want to go to Iran. Like I believe if she got in there, we'd be at war with Iran. And
you think so? You think so?
Yeah. She talks about it all the time.
Really?
Like she talks about it. Yeah. Iran is that's her focus. She wants to destabilize Iran. They've been trying to get us to destabilize Iran for a while, right? Trump and his main base are baby boomers. And keep in mind, they curated these baby boomers, and these are the ones that was post-World War II, like these old people, which there's a whole bunch of them because European population is lopsided. They have more old people than they have young people, and old people vote, right? And these old people, they're not educated, right? They live in these small towns. People don't realize, people outside of America don't realize most white people live in villages in America. They live in towns in the middle of the woods. They're not in the cities. Most Africans and black people, we live in the metropolitan areas. We have access to technology. They live in the podunk woods, but people don't know that, right? So they go out, they go out there. They're afraid of everything. They're afraid of Mexicans, black people, anything. You can scare these people. And these are the MAGA voters, right? And so as long as you can get these old geezers to get out there and vote, you can wield power. And even in these states, their population is so small, but the way they redistrict, they still are able to hold power, but population-wise, they don't have it. That's why we don't have real democratic elections, because if it was just a popular vote, they would never win, right? But it's not the popular vote. It's a democratic republic, right? So they're using these guys, and they have to pander to them, right? That's why Nikki Haley couldn't outright say from South Carolina, what was the Civil War about? Clearly, it was about slavery. It was literally about states' rights to own slaves. But she can't say that to a bunch of old people who grandfathers was fighting in the Confederate Army. Now, tactically, I understand that, but this is the age of information, and the media is decentralized. You can't get away with talking to old white people in small community centers and think you can say what you want and it's not going to become international news because everybody got a phone. Before they could do that, right? But they can't do it no more. So now they got to be held accountable for all their pandering that they do to these old white people to make them feel comfortable. Because that's why Republicans don't do a good job. That's why they kind of trap themselves they created these low information voters, right? So they trap themselves to where it's really hard for them to try to get the black vote, because if they try any policies to benefit black people, they're basically like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, you're supposed to be for us, not for them. So they can't even propose policies to benefit us. So they trap themselves by creating a constituency that they have to pander to. But now that constituency managed to get themselves in the goddamn Congress, which are Marjorie Taylor Greens. See, them people was never supposed to be politicians. They were supposed to just vote. So now the Republicans got to deal with this MAGA insurgency that they created that's destroying the Republican Party. Because now the Republicans are fighting for the soul of their identity. Real conservatism, they're not even conservative. They're calling themselves conservative. Yeah, but MAGA they're not conservative at all. Yeah. And some of the conservatives are moving over to the Democratic side, and they're being conservative Democrats.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. You know, it's funny when I see black folks. You know, recently now I've been seeing a lot of black people toting the line of wanting to support Donald Trump. Right? Like there's this whole thing going on where, you know, the black group or the black caucuses met and they're trying to rally to support Trump. You find even on the internet a lot of black men rallying around to support Trump. And here's my thing about that, right? the Republican Party will use black people because they need some of that vote, because they know that black people vote Democrat 70 and 97% of the time, right? So they need that black vote. However, I don't think if Trump makes it in, which I don't think he ever will, right? If he makes it, he will never do for black people what he did in his first term. You know what he did? Because what happened when he did, like when he came up with, the First Step Act or free opportunity zone for black people and all of this policy, what did he do? Black people shitted on him. Black people shitted on him. Black people he didn't get the type of accolation or the type of praise that you would normally get from someone who is supposedly doing something for your community, right? So all of those things, most black people didn't appreciate him for it. So what I'm saying is that these black individuals that are online rallying up troops to support Trump, you're only wasting your time, because if he gets into it at your vote, he's not going to repeat the same process of doing anything for you, because the first time he did it, you didn't even appreciate it. Right. So to me, I'm like, how are you thinking? Does the black community sometimes reason? Because I don't understand that, because I know for a fact, if I were Trump, I wouldn't do shit for black people. I would be like, hold on a second. I did the same first time. You didn't support me, or you didn't appreciate that. Why would I want to do it the second time? I will use you to get the vote. I would appreciate you voting for me, but I'm not going to do the exact same policies for black people. Right. So I think that black folks are losing the fight on that front. And I think that type of campaign we're seeing mostly from black men who feel that they no longer want to be a Democrat. And I can understand that. I can understand the stance that black men are taking in terms of, because I don't like the Democrat Party in terms of the policies. I get that. But I'm a strategist person. Right. I'm someone who looks at things and I analyze things and say, hold on a second. OK, how is this going to benefit me? Okay, forget how is this going to benefit me, my family, and what I got going on, right? And so the Democrat Party, their policies doesn't align with what I got going on. It doesn't help me at all. It goes against what makes me successful in this country. So I know that's why I align with the Republican Party. Now, I'm no longer aligned with the Republican Party, but if I am someone looking to align myself with a party and I'm trying to covet Donald Trump, knowing fully well that we messed up that first opportunity when he gave us some of the things that he gave us. We didn't appreciate him for it. What do we think this guy's going to do the second term? So I'm smart enough to know that that's not going to happen. So why am I going to give him a vote? That's me throwing and pissing my vote away in the wind. Throwing it away, because he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And I think that a lot of the black people that are supporting him are going to find out, if he ever wins, which I don't think he is, that it's the same old disappointment that we get from a lot of these politicians that go into the White House. I think they're going to find that out. Yep. I think I agree. Yep. That's good. That's good. Let me ask you, what are your, let's talk about some of the things that our black people are doing all over the world. Nigerians are doing in terms of Afrobeat and music. And I know, are you a fan of Afrobeat?
Yes.
Yeah. Afrobeat is so Afrobeat is as you know, Afrobeat has been a music genre that has been really killing it, right? Started by Nigerians, and it's something that has really put Nigerians and Africa on the map, right? Now, let me ask you, in terms of Afrobeat and rap and hip hop, what do you think? Tell me your thought in terms of the differences between these two music genres, because these two music genres are black music created by us, black people. We created hip hop, we created Afrobeat, created by us. So what do you think are the differences? Where do you think the future of Afrobeat is, and what do you think the future of rap is as it relates to what we know today?
Okay, first I would say rap started in Africa. All right, we've been rapping for 1,000 years. The griots are literally the first MCs. Like, so when people be arguing, I'll be like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, we're known for our oratory mastery. We're like the best. We're the masters of the universe when it comes to oratory expression of oneself. Yeah. So when it comes to hip hop, I'm gonna start with the problem. Because we all know the good portions of hip hop. Mm-hmm. The problem with hip hop is that entities that are not African are controlling the magic within hip hop. So magic, when I think of magic, right, and spells, right, the music, African music, that's magic, that's spells, right? We cast spells with with our music.
Yep. There's a soul behind it.
Yeah. Now the energy is the music, the beat, the rhythm, right? Because we all know as humans, we're vibrating, we're light, we're vibrating. It's all about rhythm and frequencies. So we have mastered the expression of nature through rhythm and music. Everybody galvanized towards it. But what happened is Europeans have placed poisonous spells within our music of hip hop, to where we have our young minds who are attracted by the powerful magic of that African expression, right? By being poisoned by those European words, right? That's killing our communities. So for hip hop being an African expression of telling stories, of expressing one's grievances and situations, is turned into destructive power, destroying one's community. Now, I always say this: no one has. It takes an African to defeat an African. Throughout history, no other nations have ever destroyed Africans without utilizing another group of Africans to do it. The Europeans couldn't come into Africa and destroy and do what they did if they didn't coerce other Africans to do it on their behalf, as far as destroying our civilization. Even in America, it took Africans. It even took Africans to destroy the Native Americans. It was African buffalo soldiers who they used to finish off the Native Americans on behalf of Europeans. Africans, the first weapons of mass destruction on the earth. Us. History tells the story. Right. But what I love about Afro beats is the same thing I love about calypso music and soca music in Trinidad and Tobago. Right, because we can also put Jamaican music along with African American music, because even some of Jamaican music has been the poison has been inundating the youth, you know, because they're using the African magic to put that European poison in there. So it's not effective like it used to be anymore, right? Because if you put, you can have a bunch of kids making videos, I'll shoot you, I'll kill you, I'll destroy you, look at my chain, this validates me, right? That video will get 1 million views, right? No talent having artist, a really good beat, 1 million freaking views. But you get somebody that makes some real good music that's not talking about killing and destroying their community, 5 views, a few views, right? Nothing. Because they don't push that. They don't want to push African positivity in America. But guess what? Nigeria is in Africa, right? So you guys control your industry. And what I love about Afro beats is that you get the same power of that West African black music without the death, right? I can go to an Afrobeat party. I can dance, and I don't got to worry about the attitude being created. I got to worry about fighting somebody in the middle of the club. Here over here in DC and DMV, we African Americans and Caribbeans and Africans, we party together every weekend. All the clubs, you rotating the good African music, good Caribbean music, and good Afro beats. And there's no like tribal divide. Everybody's together as one. We party and we feeling and vibing it. Because I don't care who you are. When you're African, no matter where you are, and that African beat hit, it's like that. You can't deny it, right? That's why look, all these pretendians and these ones want to pretend like they're not African. As soon as they hear it, because I swear to God, all those fake ADOS, they in their car secretly rocking to some Afro beat. Because it's on the
yo. Speaking of, didn't I see Tariq Nasheed one time with his so-called museum playing Afrobeat? I think I heard him say, "Listen, we're gonna have some Afrobeat in there," and this is some guy that is anti-Africa. Well, I ain't mad at you, brother. Enjoy the music, man. The music is for you. But no, that's a great point. I think that the reason why, and I've said it on my program, the reason why Afrobeat is so successful is because Afrobeat is an extension of Nigerian culture. Right? In Nigeria, and I think even in Africa, vast majority of Africa, Africans are prideful when it comes to their culture. We're very prideful. There's something said about our culture when he talks about we portray ourselves a certain way. We believe in community development, community presence. We believe in respect for elders. We believe in our cultural norms. And Afrobeat is an expression of culture, which is why I think that what we've seen with hip hop, which hip hop was a beautiful music genre, beautiful, gave us a lot of beautiful things. And I've said it in my program many times. However, hip hop has become tainted. You know, rap has become very tainted. We see, like you just said, to your point, you know, the glorification of a lot of the gangster lifestyle, violence and all of that. You know, people gravitate more to that because that's what has been fed to them. And so to them, if you start speaking about love and all of that stuff that hip hop was known for years ago, people don't want to hear all of that. They want to hear and see, you know, Little Baby or see, what's it? That was Sakina, what's her name? Sukiana, they want to see Sexy Red. They want to. These are the things now that they've pushed, and most people have now become desensitized to what is pure and what is good and what is good music, and so they gravitate to that. And I think that that's when we've seen the demise of Afrobeat, because I think that, I mean, the demise of hip hop. While I know that we're not going to see that with Afrobeat, at least not anytime soon. I don't even think we're going to. It's because Afrobeat is an expression of culture, right? The moment Burna Boy or Davido starts to go in that area, he's going to lose Nigerian audience. He's going to lose African, because we're going to remind him this is not who we are. That's not what makes us African. He's going to lose that. And they know this. And I think that the danger, again, this is my concern with what's going on with Afrobeat. Afrobeat is such a beautiful music genre. Here's why this is my concern. It's because, like you said, the white people, white Europeans, and the white power structure, who don't want to see black people thrive in anything, right? When hip hop started with, back in the days with DJ Kool Herc and the original pioneers of hip hop was mostly talking about what was going on in our communities, in the black community. It was a form of expression, right? And then it moved from that era to a cool form of expression, where hip hop was really now telling people and showing people how to be styled and cool in your dressing and your look and how you carry yourself. Hip hop became a very cool music genre, right? People were having a sense, black people were, for the first time, I would say for the first time in a long time, since we came out of the civil rights era, for the first time during that time, black people had a sense of pride and identity with themselves. I think white folks saw that and they didn't like it.
Yeah, they didn't.
I think they didn't like it. I think white folks saw also white people in their community gravitating to hip hop music. Because I lived in New York at the time, right? And I was in the middle of all this thing. We're talking about back in 2004, 2005. White people didn't like people moving from New York to Jersey. I saw this. White kids will move from New York, go to Jersey to attend hip hop parties. This was heavy. And I'm sure it happened all over the United States. And then hip hop began to really own their own narrative. You started to see a lot of CEOs, the rock aware started to emerge. Phat Farm, Karl Kani, the clothing lines, State Property, Benny Siegel. You start to see a lot of that, because I was in in fashion. So I was in the middle of all the springing up of all of these, hip hop artists, rappers who are now becoming clothing line owners and becoming their own business. Sean John also, but I think white folks didn't like it, because what that says was we had just come out of the civil rights era of 1960s, 65. We've come out of the 70s of the crack epidemic. And now hip hop was now gaining momentum in the 80s and the 90s. They didn't like that. They saw that black folks were now liberating themselves. So I think that for them, the answer to that has always been the answer to anything. Let's change this.
Remember, it was very pro-African too.
It was also exactly that. African. Very, very African. Very, very African, which gave it this raw, authentic type of flair. And they didn't like it. So the artists that were signed to all these labels, these big white labels, began to really get told by the labels, yeah, I think this is the direction you need to go. How about you have Gun here? How about you do this? I think this is where we started to see the fall of hip hop, because they didn't like that black people were now becoming very strong, authentic. They were paving their own way. They were becoming business owners. They were hiring people. They were becoming a household name and brand. Now, I say all that to say that's what the evolution of hip hop was. Now with Afrobeat repeating itself, right? You're seeing the same Nigerians who were demonized by the Western European power structure. The Africans who were demonized by Europeans. Don't go over there. These are animals. These are smelly people. All that negative narrative. You're seeing Nigerians now creating a music genre like Afrobeat, now owning their own music, now exporting their own music. This music was made popular all over the world without European influence. Like white folks were not the ones that made Afrobeat popular. It became popular because Nigerians and Africans really exported and supported their own. I think there's a white old man somewhere right there that's not happy about this.
Because they can't control it.
Because they can't
control it. So what happens, and I always say this, some artists, some African-American artists, they think that this market is the only market that they have access to. So when they sign with these European labels, they say, damn, I guess I got to talk about destroying my community. That's the only way I'm going to get paid. But what happens when those major labels start coming out of Nigeria and they say, hey, African American man, I want you to make your music the way you truly want to make it. You ain't got to talk about killing your community. Here's the same magical beat. Here you go, right? All of a sudden, African American artists, they can go to Nigeria and go to Africa and create an economy where they can play the real music that they truly want to.
That's right.
And create without being influenced by the West. And then there's nothing the West can do about it. I always encourage, like for instance, in DC, we got this local music called go-go. It's called go-go. You can look it up. It's a unique to DC music. You hear it in Baltimore sometimes, go-go. Now, in Yoruba land, out in the rural areas, that traditional music, right? When I first heard it live, I'm listening. I swear I thought I was listening to, I was like, is that go-go? It sounds just like go-go to the point where I made a video where I have a picture, I put a compilation of African people dancing to traditional music. Then I put the go-go over top of it. It was perfect.
Wow.
Right? It's the same percussion. The only difference is probably a little bit more piano, but the same percussion beat, frame, style. So it's a local African-American music that is eerily similar to the traditional local African music.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. And I think that for those that are watching us, and I think that we're gonna get a lot of comments from what we said today. I think that if there's anything I want anyone who is not African, who's African American, take away from this, is that we are rising up again. Black people are rising up again. Black people are rising, and Nigerians are paving the way. It is not a time for us to be competitive amongst each other. It is not a time for us to do that, because it's a time for African Americans and Black Americans to see an opportunity with their brothers and sisters across the continent coming up, and we align with each other so we can become a very dominant force. Because here's the thing: when hip hop was popping, when hip hop was very successful, Nigerians and Africans supported hip hop. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You go to any club in Nigeria, even till today, they are playing hip hop.
Americans don't know that. Americans have. Here's real important. Americans believe. Listen, because I know you heard this. You've heard some ignorant Black Americans say, "Oh, you guys are just pretending. Y'all acting like African Americans. Y'all trying to be like us." You heard that, right?
Yep.
They have absolutely no idea that when African Americans were developing their musical culture or whatever you want to call it, the Nigerians right beside us at the same time were literally doing the same thing. When we were doing jazz, they were doing jazz. When we were doing ragtime music, you guys were doing ragtime music. You may have called it something else. When we were doing big band, you were doing big band. When we were doing hip hop, started doing hip hop, you guys, like the mirror, the cultural mirror, they have they literally don't know. They have no idea that you're not emulating, you're being yourselves. They don't realize that African Americans are being themselves. They just don't know that themselves is the same thing as African. They just don't realize what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So they think they're seeing somebody emulating them, not knowing that what you're doing is you're looking in the mirror.
Exactly.
You're literally looking in the mirror.
Exactly.
And not recognizing what you see.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think it's important that Black Americans understand this. I think it's important that Nigerians don't see you. I don't see African Americans or Black Americans as a threat. I don't. I see you as an extension of who we are. But if you look at me as a threat, then I can't help you. I can't do anything for that, right? But Nigerians don't, because there's this thing that go on that you hear on the internet that Nigerians don't like African Americans, and that's a horrible narrative.
Ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous, preposterous thing I've ever heard.
That is that could not be so far from the truth, because when most of us come here, guess the community that we go to? We go to African American communities. We align ourselves with African Americans. Because it's natural when you go to a country, you only align yourself with people that look like you. Most of us, regardless of what we've been seeing on TV, we go and we align ourselves with African Americans. So I don't know where this narrative came from, because I think I know where it came from. It's white folks who were pushing that nonsense, that Africans don't like African Americans, and that is not the case, right? I think that a lot of African Americans started attacking Africans when Africans came up to the United States and saw us as a threat based on what we've talked about, that competitive animosity that was on there, because you rightfully said they thought we were trying to take away their lightning and thunder. I think that's where that animosity break came from. But Nigerians see African Americans as one of us. We see you guys as one of us. We truly see that. Like, we literally see that. Right. And so that's amazing. But brother, it has been a pleasure having you on this platform. You have been an amazing guest. Please tell our viewers and those watching how they can reach you, because we're going to put your link also to your channel and everything of your social media. So please make sure you guys go ahead and support this brother. This brother, he is solid. I have been very impressed with our conversation, and he's the type of mind and the type of people that we relate with and we want to relate with, because he's very solid. So tell our viewers and people watching, tell my subscribers how they can get in contact with you. What's your shout out your social media handle, even though we're still going to provide it in the link description, but go ahead and tell them how they can reach you.
Okay, if you want to reach me, you can go to my YouTube. I have 2 YouTube channels, Afro Think Tank, which is my name, and I have one called African American Experience in Africa. That's my other YouTube channel. Now, I concentrate in Ado-Ekiti State, Nigeria. If you type in Ado-Ekiti State, I am the #1 advertiser for Ado-Ekiti State in Nigeria. You type it in, you're going to find me. Hundreds of videos of me highlighting the beauty of Yorubaland, okay? So
absolutely. I love it, bro. Listen, man, you are going to get a lot of people from my channel who are going to subscribe to you, because I have a lot of diehard Nigerian fans on this channel. I have a lot of people who are in love with Nigeria, in love with Nigerians, and you're going to get a lot of people who are going to subscribe to you. Please go ahead and subscribe, support him, support what he's doing. Occasionally, we're probably going to have you back on the show. Maybe I go on your show also, and we can continue this discussion. But thank you so much for coming on to Corporate Junkie. I truly appreciate that. And thank you all for watching also. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig, och det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Ni kan nog leda baby, och jag kommer aldrig